Hello and welcome to the UNIKL E-Debate U Cup 2021. Thank you to all the lecturers, students, and supporters for being here today. My name is Aman, and I will be your chairperson and timekeeper for this session. Today's session will be adjudicated by Raihan, Balkis, and Munkis. We are going to start with the first round of the preliminary rounds by reading the motion. The motion for this debate is the House will introduce a ceiling on a person's income. The members of the government side representing Unique LRC MP are Maisara as the Prime Minister, Nadia as the Deputy Prime Minister, Shaira as the Government Whip. The reply speech from the government side will be given by Nadia. The members of the opposition side representing Unique Al Midi are Nabil as leader of opposition, Anissa as the deputy leader of opposition, Hana as the opposition whip. The reply speech from the opposition side will be given by Anissa. Before we begin, I will briefly explain the rules. Each of the main speech is 7 minutes long. The first and last minute of each of the speeches is known as protected time, which means that no points of information or POI may be asked by the opposing bench. The reply speech are 4 minutes long and are entirely protected from POIs. As a timekeeper, I will mark the opening and closing of protected time with a single bang or clap, once at 1 minute and the second time at 6 minutes. I will also indicate that a speaker's time is up with a double bang. If a speaker continues for a further 15 seconds, the indicator will start with a triple bang and thereafter continuously until the speaker stops. The indicator for the reply speech will start as single bang at 3rd minutes, double bang on 4th minutes. If the speaker continues for a further 15 seconds, the indicator will start with a triple bang and thereafter continuously until the speaker stops. Could I also politely ask that phones be switched off for the duration of each debate? If you wish to use your phone, please mute your mic and switch off your video to respect the ongoing session. Participants, you will have a 10 minutes grace period if you are disconnected. Please continue your speech during that period. We will move on to the next speaker if you fail to reconnect after the grace period. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming the first speaker of the debate, the Prime Minister, to the floor to open the debate. Prime Minister, wait a minute, I will highlight you. You may start whenever you are ready.
Okay, yes. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay. A dream for our talent to work in private sector. So the vital problem we can see is most of the people in our country, choose to work over private sector than in government sector. This is because it's kindly related to our motion today. So today I would like to today I want to start my speech with to define with the motion today is our motion today is that um our motion today is our mission today is it can be defined as the maximum amounts that a worker can receive in the company. So this is because of we can see from view of the capitalism. Sometimes the view of capitalism is good because looking bad as the leadership as well. But if we use the capitalism in the good way, means that capitalism surely will bring a good to our country. So our motion today to our motion today is kindly can we see from the current status quo, which is the richest become richest and the poor become poor. So introduce ceiling in the motion of our introduce ceiling to the government side means that government which surely will help the ceiling of the person income become decrease become increase as we can see lots of people, we can see a lot of talent in our country choose to work in private sector, as they will get more salary, they will get more they will provide the the private sector will provide more better benefit to our talent. So the so government side choose to increase these cases increase to rise up these cases because the all our talent should all the talents in our country should be give ceiling on all our ceiling to our because uh, we should we should judge them from their experience, their career type of jobs and their education level. Means that not so they will be more appreciated from that as the motion today as which is that's a kind of that is mechanism that we want, which is introduce this introduce this introduce ceiling to the government. So the problem we actually see is they choose government they choose a private sector than government sector because they want they think that private sector will provide more benefit provide mostly today I don't want to I don't want to talk about we work because of the salary, but actually I want to talk about that um uh, of course we study hard, we study until get a degree, master, PhD, so that we can work in our course in our what we study on. It is because so uh, it's like if you work on if you work with the not the higher salary, it's just not it's like not give you benefit. It's like give you just only a tired over study for years. It's like have just not help yourself. So so we can see now.
Why?
Yes.
I did not get a definition for what pr- uh, ceiling is and what income is. Can you please define on that?
Okay, sorry. So okay. So I define it again. So the price ceiling can be defined as maximum amounts of that a worker that can maximum amount of worker that can receive from the company. So I will continue with my speech. So it benefit to our country. It benefit to government as you will get more talents and make your country move forward, move forward faster. As when it comes to the benefit to government, when we introduce this kind of the highest ceiling to the government sides, means that our talents not will not choose to work overseas, will not choose to only work on private sector. So we can see government can also increase the economy as more people will likely and from a analysis that we can see that more people will go to the government will more people will go to the private hospitals and everything like something like that, because a private sector provide more better environment, better equipment and everything. So we can it's a big this is a big problem to our country. They just they don't they don't give any benefit to others. So so this kind of motion today I just want to so this kind of motion today I would just want to speak out that government need to introduce the higher ceilings as is we help our country as well as. So people will not be like okay, I don't want to work. So people will not dream on dream on to work over government sector, work over private sector. They still choose government. They still choose want to have our government as they want to work as there, because government also bring a benefit to them. So from now in our country, they choose not to increase the higher salary, increase to these ceilings to the workers. So increase the ceiling to the workers. So it's likely that they don't want to think about others. So in the future, we can solve the problem. A lot of our talents choose to work over to choose to work at the other country than work in their country itself. So I want to, if this motion agree, I really want to, I will think that you will help government as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech, Prime Minister. Now, please welcome the first speaker of opposition, the leader of opposition, to open the case for their side. Please wait a while, Mr. Speaker. I will highlight you. Okay, you may start whenever you are ready.
Okay, give me some time. Sorry, forgot to close my camera. Can I see the timer first?
No. You will start, and then after that you will do. No worries. I will.
All right. Okay, I'll start my. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a world where right now our income of people with jobs are not halted, are not limited, because we live in a world where we do not have the ceiling. But what happens when the government wants to add a ceiling, which means stop? Like if it's high enough, it will stop, and they will not get enough income, will not get more income than the price salary. So first of all, before I start my speech, I would like to start with some rebuttals. First of all, the government, I do not think that they understand the motion. Actually, when you're giving a price ceiling to an income, it means you are halting it. You are putting like a border so that the people with jobs will not get a higher salary than they want. What they actually explain to us is what the advantages of actually giving no price ceiling. So that's one part. Also, they also said people who are rich will become richer and the poor will become poorer. We're not talking about the floor price right now. We're talking about the ceiling price. We want the highest. We are putting a border on the highest income possible. So those are my rebuttals for now. Before that, I would like to give definition, more clearer definition. So the definition of a price ceiling, as I said before, is putting a halt, putting a border on a person's income, meaning that they will not get a higher income than they put a border on the income, and they will not get higher income than that price ceiling. Okay, understood. Second part, income. Yeah, they get income from like more like they work, they get money. That's the income. Okay. So first of all, our stance for today is certain jobs needs to be the same level as what they work. But actually, the government actually explained that to us. Like they said, if people work, if people learn to work at a higher job salary, they will not. Actually, let me explain again in different words. Work will become directly proportional to the income they get. So if they work at a high skill job, they will get more money. If you put a price ceiling on that, they will not get more money than the price ceiling. So that's our stance for today. The stakeholders are people with jobs and also the government. I'll explain that later. And the mechanism is that we just leave it. We'll put no price ceiling on the income. Okay. So first of all, comes to my first argument: loss of motivation. What do I mean by this? I mean that when people get their income limited, they add the price ceiling, what happens is they have loss of motivation. Because why? They will not get more money than the price ceiling. Like, for example, if somebody will work as a doctor, and they, like, say they're a neurosurgeon and so on, they want 100K salary. But when you add the price ceiling, let's say the price ceiling is at 80K, they will not get more than the 80K. Yeah, understood? Okay. So when people know that the price ceiling is there, they will not they won't be motivated. They won't be motivated to work because they do not get more the money that they want. They only get the money that is there, the border of the price ceiling. So I mean, the income ceiling. So what happens after that? Once they get loss of motivation, there will be less productivity because they can't be bothered to work. They mean they will work, but they won't have the same feeling. They won't get the motivation. So when they don't have the motivation, productivity will go down. They won't do their work properly. And then after that, when productivity goes down, what else happens? The economy will go down because productivity is not as the same as when we do not add a price ceiling. So when the productivity goes down, the economy will go down, GDP will go down, a lot of things will go down, in simple words. So also, when you add a price ceiling, when everything goes down, there'll be protests, riots happening because they want a higher. They do not want a price ceiling. They do not want a ceiling on their income. So when that happens, protests, GDP will go down, everything, and so on. So also, you're talking about private sector. I'm not really sure about what to say about that. All I can say is that it's not right to limit somebody's income based on a price ceiling that other people are putting on. Also, when you said that when there is a price ceiling, people would work more in private sectors. I don't really understand what you were saying about that. But you said people won't go overseas. I'm not sure about that also. More people will go overseas if they know that there's a price ceiling on their income. More people want to go overseas. They don't want to settle for an income that is limited. They'll go overseas more. And then you said talents will go in private sectors. Talents will go overseas, of course. I think honestly that the government actually helped us somehow. So also, let me make sure again. I'll redefine ceiling again, just in case there's some confusion. Ceiling is when you put limit. Okay, you put a limit. So, for example, somebody with 100K, you put a price ceiling 80K. So I hope that the government follows this definition, understands it well. And let me re-talk about my points again. Number one, loss of motivation. That's my only argument. Loss of motivation. What happens after loss of motivation? Loss of productivity. Loss of productivity, loss of GDP, loss of government income. And that will also cause loss of workers of the country. And with that, I have never been proud to propose.
I would like to thank the speaker for the speech and welcome the second speaker of the government, the Deputy Prime Minister, to continue the case for their side. Please wait a while before I highlight you. Yes. Okay. Mr. Speaker, you may start whenever you are ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the floor. So today, our motion is the House will introduce a ceiling on a person's incomes. So meaning that we put the border communist estate. Workers from workers from private sectors get more salary. People from private sectors get more salary. Get more salaries compared to government sectors. That is what she wants to highlight. The point is, when this happen, it costs more talent to go to the private sector instead of government sectors, which result in less and less people working in government sectors, where it become a problem because they aren't enough doctors in the government hospital to provide they aren't to provide healthcare for the citizens. There aren't enough engineers in government sectors because the private sectors provide high salary. But then when we put a ceiling on a person's incomes, a ceiling, the maximum wages that a company or a sector can provide, then we put a sense of equality to both private and government sectors. So instead of the workers choosing to work in private sector because they have high salary, they can actually choose to work in private sector or government sector in the sense of comfortability, or they have the choice. They don't need to actually think about the salary. Okay. As for from what the leader of opposition has said, that when you put when you put the ceilings on a person's incomes, it will lead to loss of motivation. But then, what happened now? A lot of people have they know that they need to work hard to have high income. Like the more you work hard, the more you got. But then we should also see sometimes when when you put a border in a person's income, they don't invite others of having more than them. You don't need that. After years of introducing the ceilings, they will adapt to it and end up they actually that is the maximum one. And okay, because it's actually, and I don't need to actually compete with others who get more salary because that is the maximum you can get. For the productivity, okay, the leader of opposition said that if we introduce ceilings to the ceiling on a person's income, it will cause the productivity to go down. I believe this is wrong because this relates to my first argument, which is when we introduce ceilings on a person's income, it will lead to immense weight to private sectors because private sectors can afford more people as they reduce it can actually reduce labor costs for the firms or company. So they have more money to actually pay workers because they don't need to pay one workers like in a very large amount. So which then lead to increase in employment.
Speaker, are you there? Hello, speaker, are you there? Speaker.
She's having some internet difficulty.
So let's have a grace period. Let's have a grace period for 10 minutes.
Miss Chairperson,
Yes, miss?
since we're on a break, can I like rejoin balik because I can't seem to open my camera.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. The government side, please check on your TPM.
Yeah, she's trying right now.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, you may start back whenever you are
You
ready.
guys hear me?
Mr. Speaker, you may switch off your camera if your internet is not good. You may switch off your video. Mr. Speaker, speaker.
Uh, wait.
Okay.
Hello?
Speaker, you ready? Speaker, you ready? DPM, Deputy Prime Minister. Hello, DPM. DPM, you may switch off your camera if your
Alright.
internet is having problem. You may
Yeah.
switch.
So actually, right? Can like she use my mic because she's having mic problem. Like try to speak, Nadia, right now. Hello. Is it
Yeah,
clear for everyone?
yeah, clear. Yes, clear. And but then
Alright,
if
great.
you have internet problems, you may switch off your video.
Alright.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you about to my argument, which is increased spending requirement for private sectors. And my second argument is people of the country doesn't need to compete of thinking about salary or pay. Instead of they can think about the benefits they can get. So company provide and it then can when we introduce things for the person's income, it then can actually provide a platform for the company to actually competing healthily instead of competing who gives the highest salary so that they can get working. And the people of the country doesn't feel the need to actually sacrifice themselves for a job of $50 just for the salary. Just because they want to have the high salary. Because in every job they are going to have the same amount of maximum wage. So when it's a fact, I can see that it then can provide them to actually compete more healthily. They can actually the company can actually focusing on focusing more money in the productivity of the company in providing more care, more opportunity for their workers instead of providing more salaries to the workers. And instead of competing which company have the best salary, the best salary, they compete which salary can actually produce the products with more quality. And sorry to begin, I agree when the government believes that I believe that this motion is still that where the house should vote into the ceilings of the term because it brings benefits to both to the government because it provides more good service to government, to the private sectors because it increase their employment rate, and it also then increase more stable jobs for the people of the country and for the people of the country so that they don't need to think about their salary instead of they can think about themselves, about their healthcare, about what they like and what they don't.
Nadia.
I respect.
It's
Thank you.
already past 8 minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you to the speech. I would like to thank the speaker for their remarks and welcome the second speaker of the opposition, the deputy leader of opposition, to continue the debate for their side. Wait a minute, I will highlight you. Okay. So, speaker, you may start whenever you are ready.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. If you have internet connection, you may switch off your video.
Okay, sure. All right, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, after hearing the speech from two speakers from the government side, it's safe to say that the government side today is is confused about the motion. It's confused on the stuff that really matters because they keep comparing the private sectors, the government sectors, and I kind of get where they're coming from, but it's kind of relevant. So let me kind of define so they can adjust a bit. A price ceiling is maximizing the wage, the income. And a floor price is minimizing the wage. Have a minimum wage. Just to get that clear. Because when they said something about one of their speech said something about there's not gonna have enough doctors in the government side, in the government sector. When there's a price ceiling, when you want to input a price ceiling, more people are going to go to another country because hello, they're not getting paid enough. You're maximizing a certain amount of money on how much they are being paid. Okay, I'm gonna go with that into later. And when they say something about rich gets richer, poor gets poorer, let's think about it this way. In a normal country, at the end of the day, a nation's income, a nation's how they can actually boost their economy mainly comes from tax and expenditure. So that's how you want to boost an economy. So if you maximize someone's wage, don't you think that they're going to be more careful on what they want to spend? When you want to impose a ceiling price, um, how is that gonna help? And at the end of the day, these rich people are gonna help the poor, like by donating or zakat. So if you want to go with this motion, people are not gonna spend as much because they know at the end of the day that's how much you're gonna get after years of um specializing in that field. That's how much you're gonna get. And tax, they're just not gonna have a lot of tax or income tax. When they said something about people in the country will not prefer working overseas, what are you talking about? Okay. Before that, let me just start with my argument. So my first argument today is limiting the capabilities. So when you want to impose a price ceiling on income, people are going to be held back. And when this happens, these people who have studied years, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of ringgit, and spend 5 years or 10 years if they want to go to master's PhD. And at the end of the day, that's just how much you're going to get. So it actually will limit their capability. So when you say that when we want to go with this motion, they're going to stay in this country. No, it's not going to happen. They're going to go to another country that will actually appreciate their skills, that's going to actually appreciate their capabilities to pay them more. So people are going to be held back, and it's so unfair for students, especially for those in the industry that's really hard, like medical industry, architecture industry. Do you know how hard it is to study in that field? And they are in hundreds of thousands of debt. So when they spent years studying in that field, and they spent years studying in that field, they spent time and effort to study in that field, to study in that very hard field. And the only thing that motivates them, because you know what, it's okay, I'm gonna get paid fairly. This is gonna be worth it. This is gonna be worth it. And then you want to go with this motion, it's not gonna be worth it for them. They're gonna go to another country that will actually appreciate their capabilities. So so moving on to my argument, talking about nation. So when you go with this motion, it will limit the nation's advancement. So let's say if another country, like someone from another country wants to find a specialist, and they're looking and they know that, okay, here there's not a lot of, this country doesn't have a lot of specialists because people don't want to work here because they are paid, they have a price ceiling on their income. So they don't want, so of course they don't have a lot of specialists because not a lot of people want to work here because of a maximum wage. So of course they're going to find another country who actually have the specialists. Okay, so so that is gonna have a huge impact on the nation and the advancement of the nation, because we do not have enough all of our specialists, all of people who are actually skilled in that industry. They're gonna go to another country. So like my prime minister had said, my leader of opposition said something about loss of motivation. So when we were to go with this motion, people do not want to study hard because, like I said, they have spent hundreds of dollars in debt, and at the end of the day, they're gonna say to themselves, okay, it's gonna be worth it. No, it's not gonna be worth it, because you are maximizing their wage. You are not paying them what they actually deserve to get. So it's gonna lose some motivation. And a lot of students who want to start out, when they start entering university, they don't want to go to a field where it's really hard, because they know, you know what, I'm still gonna get paid this much. So why do I have to suffer myself just to be paid this and that at the end of the day? So why not I just study something that's a lot easier and still be getting a lot of money? Okay, so that's not fair. And when this happens, like I said, people from this industry, that industry, specialist industry, then there's not going to be a lot of those specialists in this country. So high wage is the only thing that motivates them. So experts who are actually like who are already skillful, who are already present in this time, they're gonna go to another country. They're gonna go to a nation that actually appreciates their skills. So my second argument is reduce of job opportunities. So immigrants who usually come, let's say, I'm just gonna give a easy example, Malaysia. A lot of immigrants come to our country because they want to look for a job, because they have the skills and all, and they want to look for a job. But they know that we set a price ceiling on income. So they're gonna go to another country that actually appreciates the skills that they have, because it's unfair to pay someone who has worked hard for years, who has spent money, time, and effort for years, but be paid the same as someone who doesn't go through the same effort as them. It's not fair. It's you are torturing them in a way, especially for those who have big families. How are they going to feed them? If this is going to have an effect on the economy, it's going to reduce the GDP, loss of workers, and at the end of the day, the country will go to recession. And with that being said, I have never been prouder to oppose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker, for that speech. Now, let us welcome the government whip to summarize the debate for the government side. Please wait a while. I will highlight you. Yes. Ms.
Alright, can
Speaker,
you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you. If you have any internet problems, you may switch off your video. You may start whenever you are ready.
Alright, thank you. I would like my PRI to be, you just open your mic and just PRI me. So I will start in 3, 2, 1. So ladies and gentlemen, I think that the opposition actually mislead the motion today into a way that they can win this debate. Because we today, the problem that we're going to tackle today, the problem that we actually, the government, think that the vital problem that we as a good government need to solve today is more this good talent in the government sector, right, are going to the private sector because of the big salary that they can offer. Like what my prime minister said, what my deputy prime minister said, and everything that they say about the lack of motivation, limiting capability, reduced job opportunity, these all three things can be solved in the mechanism that my prime minister already told you guys, which is the mechanism that is education, types of job experience. The ceiling of the incomes will be the mechanism of it is will depend on the education, types of job, and experience as well. So we see that this mechanism actually can overweight everything that they say on their side, because they said about lack of motivation. Well, lack of motivation will not happen because the price ceiling that we're going to set up is the only reason, and the main reason, the vital problem that we try to solve today is more good talent in the government, sector going to private sector just because of the salary that this private sector offer. You keep saying about this talent can get more money in the will get less money if we put pricing. No, this can actually be solved with the mechanism that we provided. We provided to the table today, to you today, the mechanism that can actually will not jeopardize the person, will not jeopardize what they learn in this 10 years of become a doctor, become a specialist, or become a good engineer, become an IR or everything, will not jeopardize that. Because the mechanism that we provide today to the table is first, we're going to look at the education, meaning that if it's a doctor, a normal doctor, the salary will be like 3,000 in the private sector, and the government sector both are the same. But imagine, right now in the current status quo, wait a minute, let me finish. Right now in the current status quo, the problem that is rising right now is we can see a large gap between the private sector and the government sector. Imagine you work in the government sector as specialist, you can get only 6,000 of salary, and then when you work in the private sector, you can get 15,000 salary, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we're trying to tell to you guys. The problem today, there is the big gap between the government and private sector that can bring down the government into a down to the drain. Because of why? Because we see this good talent, right, keep working on the private sector instead of the government sector, instead of like improving the government into a better way. So that is why my prime minister and my deputy prime minister actually tell to you guys they will jeopardize the country in a further bad way, because when this good talent, right, working in the private sector, they will not help the country directly. They will not help improving the country sector, example, improving the country hospital, example. So that's why I try to curb, and we do acknowledge that this government, the current, you have to acknowledge the opposition. You have to acknowledge that is the problem that we, the government right now, are facing. We in the country, in this current sector right now, are facing. So that is the vital problem that we need to solve. Because of why? First, the problem will arising when the government actually, when these people, right, go, these good talent go into private sector, the government will not get enough good talent to actually improve country in a better way, meaning that bring forward the country into becoming um, a a better country, meaning that a good hospital, like I explained just now. That's what exactly our stance for today, the product we're trying to solve. And the only reason this opposition say of don't want to actually do this motion, do not want this motion to pass, is lack of motivation, limiting capability, and reduce job opportunity. Everything that they said just now will be overweight by our mechanism, which already explained by my prime minister and also by my deputy prime minister. And I don't know why they do not actually cater to our mechanism. Maybe because we believe that if they cater to our mechanism, they could not come up with a better mechanism. They cannot actually come up with their pure points because they cannot actually overweight the mechanism that we're trying to tell you guys today. Because we believe that the mechanism that we're trying to actually implement, if we want to implement the ceiling incomes in our country, right, it can actually make a country a better world. So a better world and can make our country actually improve better advancement, because we do not limit the capability of the people. We actually see the experience, we actually see the education. So based on that, we put the ceiling limit. Meaning that doesn't mean that you have like specialists, you get on only like less amount that you should get. No, meaning that the government and private sector will get the same ceiling income in both sector. All right, so this actually benefit all stakeholders that we're trying to protect today, which is the government, the people of the country, and the private sector as well. So the benefit the government can get more talent, and our country can actually improve more, so they can be more advancement and help in poverty as well, because and can get more talent, so can improve our country in a better way. Because of what? This talent will stay in our government because they believe the only reason that they go to the private sector is because they high salary. Imagine if they stay in this country and they stay in the government sector because they give a same salary, so this government sector can actually improve more, like the private sector, improve more in sense that they can move forward more and become a better country at the end of the day. Okay, so that's what we see. What we're going to try to tell you. And the second one, people in the country. So there will be a high rate of employment because of what? Because the private sector will not have like to pay like really really high salary just because for them to actually get a good worker. They can actually the same amount, they can just provide a better environment in the private country or in the private sector of a better something else rather than the money. So they can provide the money more to hire a lot more people more people, so that more people will get more jobs. So I don't know why in the yes side of the house they say that less employment, and they do not really explain on it as well. And yeah, so the private sector also what they can get is actually they can provide more, and the people of the country also, I'm sorry, people of the country, they can actually choose the place that they want to work based on the environment, based on the benefit they can get, not based on salary. So we don't want to produce a worker that actually only depend on, that only see the salary, only see the salary as a main thing that they want to choose a place to work. But we want them to see this place based on the environment and just what benefit that they can get. So based on that, ladies and gentlemen, but I believe that these three benefit that we tell you guys, we cater everyone, this debate should fall outside because we cater every stakeholder that we need to cater today, and they did not cater any other stakeholder. They're just babbling out the thing that they write. And yeah, so based on that, I believe that I've never been party proposed. I hope you agree with the government side today. Thank you.
Thank you, Government Whip. Please welcome the opposition whip to sum up for the opposition team. Please wait a while. I will highlight you. Okay. Speaker, you may start whenever you are ready.
Okay, wait. Okay, may I start? Okay, I'll just start. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say thank you to everyone because like both sides, thank you to my side, the opposition side, for actually
telling everyone in here what they actually mean about the income ceiling and also like the floor pricing and so on. I'm pretty sure they didn't even give the correct definition. They were talking about private versus government from the first speaker to the second speaker to the third speaker. All same thing. I would like to rebut it, but let me just rebut it once for all three since it's all the same. Am I correct? I know I'm correct. Okay, so first of all, we'll be talking about how can you say people would choose the first speaker said, okay, if we do this, then people would more of the people will come to work to the government instead of the private. But you didn't even say what the third speaker has to say for you in your position. You know, the third speaker had to explain everything, which makes me wonder what's going on. You can't even make this one simple thing as a team, as a group, as a government. You have to actually contradict everyone, each other. There's only three of you. You cannot contradict this supposedly. But anyway, I would also thank you for the explanation of the mechanism. It's nice that you said that you'll be according to the education, experience, types of job, which is very good. But how can you say that if you put the maximum, how will it affect those people actually get it? Like you're talking about how people will want to work more on the government side because there's a ceiling, both sides will be given the same maximum income. First of all, what's the benefits of working in government? Like what will the people get if they work in government? I'm pretty sure that people would think that private will be able to give more good facilities. I'm not saying that there aren't good facilities in government, but that's like basic. And when we talk about, it's to make the third speaker said about how to make the country, like working with the country, making it better and so on. You do know, right? If the people works outside of Malaysia, this country, sorry, they will still, the country will still get the recognition. We have seen a lot. It doesn't mean that if it's a person from this country immigrate and suddenly they become the other countries. You get it? Like it doesn't mean that just because they went out of the country, suddenly they're like zero. They don't exist. No, they still bring the recognition. What are you talking about? And then that this is why I would say that my opposition side is better because we give the definition, which is like the basic of what this motion is about, like, and then regarding the limit capabilities, and when you limit capabilities, it will leave bad impression to the country. That is what I got from my second speaker. People will come and see like, oh, I don't want to work here. Like they have like this ceiling thingy which I can get somewhere else. It's not just so we'll be having problem with people who immigrate. Have you ever think of that economically? No, pretty sure no. And then you can tell that. And then the second speaker was like more about education and all what's not. It's like you're saying that they wouldn't choose something that is more. And even the first and second speaker was like, this one, they are focusing on the government. Like there will be a limit or the maximum income and maximum wages only for government. That was what I understand from both of the first speakers, the first and the second one. And then suddenly you come contradicting everything. You will say that it will not jeopardize everything, but still got maximum. Why limit when you can give more? I do understand you want to be able to make it fair, but is it really fair? Are you sure? Do you know that this from my first speakers, I saw that from the opposition sides, I can see that, I'm pretty sure you guys can see as well, how they even talk about all these, you might say no motivation. It's okay, just no motivation, no big deal. But no motivation will bring to lower productivity. Can you imagine lower productivity? There'll be like more. It's so bad, but like there'll be more people, lazing around when you work, and then like if you're supposed to be a receptionist, someone call and you don't pick up the calls because they're like, ah, well, there's a maximum, so like what am I supposed to do? Get it? And if we're talking about you, all you guys see is those who are working on, how do I say, like, those who are, when we were kids, people always said be engineer, be doctor. You only think about those groups. Have you ever thought of the people who works like as a laborer? Have you think about that? If they have like a maximum one, for example, you said like, oh, labor can give like 3,000 a maximum, but there are those who works harder, which usually if you're in private sector, they will give you more because they see what's going on, and government will be like, government side will be like, we have to follow this. If you overtime only, we give you money. But the private sector are usually, they give more benefits. You might say government have all the things such as um like the pension money and what's not, but it's clear private will always give better benefits. You know how they, if you work more, they would give you more. Get it? It's not just because of your what education experience types of job. Have you ever thought about how hard they work, the workloads they're having? Is those education experience types of jobs are all that matter? No. You can expect a CEO to have a maximum of 100K, for example, if they are leading 24 million people, like mega holding, like that. You can expect to have a maximum. With that, I just want to say that you can see clearly the opposition side have made a clearer statement, a better, even with definition, twice definition. So with that, I agree to disagree. Thank you.
I would like to thank all of the speakers for all their speech. Now, let's give the government and opposition side 5 minutes to prepare for the reply speech. Please be aware that the reply speech will be for 4 minutes and no POI is allowed. Let us welcome the representative from the opposition side for the reply speech. Please wait a while, I will highlight you. Okay, Miss Speaker, you may start whenever you are ready.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. You may start whenever you are
Okay.
ready.
Starting my reply speech in three, two, one. Ladies and gentlemen, after hearing both sides of the motion today, of this debate today, it is crystal clear that the opposition side has won. When I summarized all three speakers from the government side, all I understood was they kept comparing about the government and the private sectors, and they mentioned just a bit about education. Well, for starters, when they kept going on and on again about highlighting why we should, where there's not enough good talent in the government sectors, we got to protect the government sector, and these experts are going to shift to the government sectors. I get where they're coming from when they say that there's not enough good talent in the government sectors, but if we were to go with today's motion, it's not going to help anything. Are you 100% sure that these experts who are from the private sectors, when there's a price ceiling on income, they're going to shift to the government sectors? Are you 100% sure? Let's think of it this way. And by the way, I am not in any way like looking down on government sectors, so please don't twist my words. So these experts, they are in the private sectors, so they got a price ceiling and all, yada yada. So are you really sure when they say that they want to move to the private sectors, both pay that person the same thing, but private sectors has, let's be realistic, private sectors has more like advanced facilities. So these experts would either stay where they are, or they're going to move to another country that will actually appreciate their skills enough to pay them fairly, to pay them the amount of money that they deserve. So I don't understand where they're coming from when they said that, oh, it's going to have good talent, when they said it's not going to benefit the government. Are you Here's the thing, the government side did not define on what benefit comes from working in the government sector. So I'm still clueless, because they didn't give anything to us about working in private sectors. They said not benefit the government. When we work in private sectors, we pay income tax, pay tax that will eventually benefit the government. So moving on to our side, why we have won this debate today, for the opposition side, we actually, like, we know that if we were to go with this debate, it will cause a riot. It will have a problem with the economy, and a lot of people are not going to work in that specific country. It's going to limit capabilities. Students are going to feel demotivated. Experts are not going to want to work in that specific country, because we know well that that country doesn't appreciate the people who have worked there, who have spent a lot of years and money and effort and time to be in that specific industry, but at the end of the day, not being appreciated enough. So, as the opposition side, we've talked about limiting capabilities, because it's crystal clear that these students, or these experts, present experts, these present experts will move to another country, or they're going to shift to another industry that actually like is more easier, I guess we could say. So either way, it's still not going to be a good image for the country. It's still not going to be a good thing for the economy, because the country has lost a lot of experts specializing in a certain skill that is really hard to specialize in the first place. So students who have just gotten in university, they're not going to want to specialize in that industry, because they know well enough that they're not going to be paid well enough. So that's loss of motivation. Job opportunities are gone, because immigrants are not going to want to come to our country, because they know well that they're not going to get paid of what they deserve. There's going to be a reducing GDP, loss of workers are going to shift to another industry, and at the end, this country is going to go to recession. So overall, I believe that our opposition side today really understood what it will happen, the impact of this if we were to go with this motion, and how badly it will impact the economy. And with that being said, I have never been prouder to oppose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you for the speech. Now, let us welcome the last speaker for today's debate to give the reply speech for the government side. Please wait a while. I will highlight you. Yep. Wait. Okay.
Am I
Yes.
audible?
Yes, you're audible. You may start whenever you are ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, so we from the government side are just we want to solve the problem that are around for a long time. Okay, the government in this motion where the House will introduce a ceiling on personal income, the government will get more benefits because they can get a good talent, so the country can move forward. So because a lot of people actually have they want to work in the government, they want to help people, they want to actually contribute to their country more than just pay taxes for the country. But then, but where but private sectors provide higher salary, so they need to so they choose money over the government. But then when we introduce a ceiling on the personal income, which is a highest amount a highest maximum income to for a job for a job according to their education, according to their education and job. So this thing can actually provide the people of the country more choices. They don't need to actually sacrifice themselves for money. That's not the thing. And if there are someone that actually like the opposition said that more people gonna move to other country because other country provide high salary if we put the ceiling in first income. This is wrong because okay, I agree that there might be some that actually move to other countries, but a lot of people they want to work for their country. They want to actually provide their country. They have a lot of sentimental issues for their countries, and even though we lost a few to other countries, but there are more that will always take their place. They will actually improve themselves for the occupation because when okay just imagine okay for an engineer or a doctor, they want to work for the government but they don't get the salary enough, so we put the highest ceiling of official income for the private sector so that both private sectors and government sectors have the same income. Simple. So that these doctors, these engineers can actually choose their which sector they're gonna go they're gonna work, private or government, or they're gonna work for themselves. It's up to them because they don't need to actually think about the money at that time because it's just about like in the sense of okay, some might choose private because of the advanced facilities, but some might choose government just because they want to, because it's government. Because okay, government also have benefits, pension and stuff, but the base of like choosing government is that they want to actually provide for their country. But then anyway, the government today just want to solve the problem where more good talents are moved to the private sector instead of good sectors. But then we don't want to create difficulties towards the private sector or the people of the country, which then so they will get paid fairly based on their education, their job, their experience and stuff. They we don't lower the income. We just like put the maximum thing, and then it's not just like 3,000 or something. It's like more than that. I think I raised my case now. Thank you.
With that, thank you for the replies page. The debate for this round has ended. Let us give the adjudicators some time to discuss this round result. The adjudicators, you may move to your respective room. I ask the participant to please remain in this room. Guys, it's a free time right now, so you can do anything that you want.
Okay, thank you. Aman,
Yes, yes.
how long adjudicators dapat what's it called discuss?
It depends. It depends. Basically, it depends. Let's just wait because the second round will be start at 11:25. So, yep, definitely before that.
11:35. All right.
11. Yep. Yeah. No worries about that. Um, Monkis, Balkis, are you there? Can you chat in the box? Balkis is not here. Wait. Wait. I will tell the organizer. Uh, Raihan, are you? Is your trainee educator with you in the breakout room? Not in the Zoom. Okay. It's okay. No worries. The organizers said you may discuss first with Munkis and we'll try to look for Balkis, but then if he is not, then you may continue. Is that clear? Yep, I think you are clear. So, yep.
Hello. So, am I audible? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, you're audible. Do you want me to highlight you?
Anything is fine. I don't mind. Um, okay. Hold on. Okay. So I'm just going to submit the ballots now, just to reconfirm your names. If I get a mistake, call me out. If I don't, then just don't say anything. For government, the first speaker was Nur Alia. Second speaker was Nick Nur Nadia. Third speaker was Nur Shahira. And reply was Nick Nur Nadia. Cool. For the opposition, Ahmad Nabil, Anissa, Hana, then Anissa. Cool. I'm just going to submit to this. Okay, cool. All right, thanks guys for the debate. My name is Raihan again. I'm from Sunway, if that is any relevance. I will be, so the way I will structure my whole adjudicated feedback is that first I'll give the decision and then I'll give the main clashes. And I think just for this debate specifically, we could talk a bit about the future cases that I expected would have happened, but please note that this wasn't taken into consideration when delivering the verdict. I just judged based off what transpired within the debate, but I think like there was potential in certain arguments. It's just that they weren't really fully fleshed out or weren't touched at all in some cases. And I think it would be nice to just tell you that. But if you guys want more information on that later, you just come to me for personal feedback. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So where's my thing? Okay. So the verdict is that it's a kind of clear win for the opposition side. Congratulations, commiserations to the government. Just simply because I think that their arguments suited the spirit of the motion better and they had more reasonings or depth to their arguments and what they assist in their arguments, right? Cool. So now I'm going to be talking about clashes. There were two main clashes that I identified from this debate, and the way that I listed them is what was most contentious, meaning what you guys talked like had the most clash with one another, like what you guys talked in relation with one another more. And then the second clash wasn't really contentious because only one party brought it up and then the other failed to engage with it. Okay, so I'll be specific. First, the main contention within this debate is mainly about labor force and the question of where will they go, what do they do, why will they do what they do, right? So government's main whole argument is on the premise that people will that they want people to go to government sectors more so that the country can accrue better talent and eventually progress their like nation, right? Because they're saying that the current status quo is that everybody's going to private sectors now and nobody's going to government sectors, right? And then opposition argues the contrast, saying that hey, because of the lack of monetary incentive, i.e., the price ceiling that was introduced within this motion, people actually will not want to work for either and will just chow from the country, right? And then your GDP falls because of various reasons, right? So let's talk about the first part and just talk about the private and government sector argument as a whole and how opposition replied to it and what I think government should have done better. First, the first question that came up to me when you guys talked about the whole private versus government sector was that how does private and government sector actually look like in relation to with respect to how they contribute towards a nation's economy, right? Because the picture that I'm getting from government is that if you work in a private sector, that means all your funds or like all your progress and all your contributions will only be accrued within these private sectors and will only like benefit these guys, right? So for example, Malaysia and Shell, right? Shell is obviously what, a Dutch company, I don't know. And if everyone works in Shell instead of insert an oil company in Malaysia, Petron, I guess, then all their benefits will only go to Shell outside of Malaysia, which not wrong, but I think there could have been more depth and picture painted as to how these sectors actually work. Because you're telling me that talents just go there and then the country just gets screwed up because no one wants to go to the government sector, right? I needed to see like a better picture as to how that actually happens, because in my mind it's kind of like, wait, but then isn't like, are they still in Malaysia though technically? So as like they're still going to like accrue revenue, and that revenue within the company that's based in Malaysia will still be operating in Malaysia. So if it's Shell, then like, you know, me as a person who drives a car will probably go to a like oil station in Malaysia. So won't I still be getting a benefit? So won't my country still also progress? Because me getting fuel for a car means I can go work, stuff like that. Like, I didn't get all that. All I heard from the government was just basically, you go to a private sector, your country gets screwed up, right? But then the opposition also further like dismisses a lot of this harms, saying that your harms will be even worse if you put that price ceiling, because you already won't have people like going to either or of the sectors, but you'll also have people, worst case scenario, just straight up bouncing from your country, right? So if it's already bad enough that people aren't working in the government sector, if you put that price ceiling, like, they're just gonna not work anywhere, right? But then this brings me to the second clash, and this was argued quite heavily. It's that why people prefer the government if money will be the same. Because this is my biggest question, or this is the biggest paradox that I heard from the government's like whole case, right? You're saying that people will like to work more in private sectors because they get higher salaries, right? Because they get higher salaries, they go private sector. Therefore, your model is to make both sectors the same, right? So the paradox then becomes, so to attract people to work in your like sector, you either have to make like your wages then high so you can attract them again, or if your wages like aren't the same at all, sorry, your wages are low or not to the expectations of the person, then what is the incentive of joining the industry in the first place? Do I make sense? Like, high salary equals people wanting to work there, but then you put a ceiling gap, then why would people want to work there in the first place, right? So that's the paradox I heard. This also becomes a little bit worse when you guys fail to mention that, okay, let's say that monetary incentive now, nada, nothing, right? You get the same thing. If I want to work in a, I don't know, as a doctor, right? In the government sector and the private sector, I'll earn the same amount, right? That's government's model. And you tell me, so then the question now is, why would they choose the government over the private? Because you're telling me, because the most I heard from you guys were benefit that came out in the first speaker, very little in the second, and then only in the reply you guys told me about they want to help their country. I think this could be a decent point, but I don't know what the people have to owe to the government for them to want to work in the government. Because in my head, it's, if I'm earning the same amount in private and government, then what's the point of either? There's 0 point. So this kind of this kind of supports the point of opposition, where they say that there's going to be a loss of motivation. But I wouldn't say loss of motivation. I would just say there's just going to be no incentive at all to work in either or industries, right? So I think that's where government's case was really harmed, because the things that you talked about, well, I do appreciate, and I think there was a couple of interesting things that would come out, saying that that jobs now have to be somewhat standardized in terms of the standard that they're going to, because now you work the same amount, right? That means more people can actually go into these jobs in the first place if they have the same ceiling gap, right? So there's not going to be any like monopolization of like labor forces onto one company. This one will go into personal feedback later, but just to give you a rough idea, this would basically mean that the accounting firm of KPMG and all your big auditing and financial firms, now that can be redistributed into smaller firms like, I don't know, Ah Leong's accounting firm, Ahmad Raihan's accounting firm, stuff like that, right? The redistribution could probably be better on government side, but unfortunately that didn't come out. So from this clash, opposition actually branches out a little bit and tells you that, hey, and this is the unique point coming out from opposition, which I credited, saying that people will become more wary with what they spend because, you know, they have a ceiling gap, they won't contribute as much within GDP. Well, I do agree the leap in logic is kind of like a bit high, because I mean, I would still have to like buy stuff, right? That doesn't necessarily mean the country will just fall, because necessity goods, right? A Gucci bag doesn't make the country become any richer than it already is. But it's okay. I get what you're trying to say. But the only reason why this becomes credited was because I think there was a lack of implementation of what the model should actually look like, which came out in the opposition side by them straight up just telling me that, hey, this isn't about the minimum wage workers or your middle class workers. This is about the rich people. Like, we got to put the money on, like, we got to put a leash on them, right? So I would credit them for giving me a little bit of a clear model, but government probably should have came out and told me like how this model could have kind of looked like. Like just I don't expect you to show me like, hey, we're going to give you a 50% proportional ceiling gap on the amount of money that you will, receive in working for my company. But just at least tell me like who you're placing it on. Are you placing it in both the government and private sector? Is this going to be across all job scopes? Are there certain exceptions? Like just very, very like small, minuscule guidelines, right? I think that would have been a bit better. And then the opposition also says that there's going to be less specialists. This is kind of the same as people just chow from your country, just nuance to the specialist a bit, right? Okay, so here's where the opposition really gets away and really like overtakes the government side. So they talked to me about two things: the principle on the return on investment and also motivation. I touched on motivation a bit, so I'll complete it here. So motivation is a huge incentive factor, which I think should have came up from, which probably should have been a burden that government should have taken. What I mean by this is by saying, very simply, when opposition says that, hey, I'm not going to do as good as I want to because I'm not getting paid enough for my services. For example, because, I don't know if I can say this is live, but because they're paying me to judge you guys, I am going to do my best job to judge you guys. But if they didn't pay me anything, I'm not dodgy, but I might have become dodgy. That's the principle, right? If you were a doctor and you were paid an absurd amount, like, then there's this whole responsibility to, actually being better at being a doctor, right? You lose the incentive factor when you have that ceiling gap, no matter how small or how big it is, because people just don't have any room to progress. What opposition could have elaborated more on this would probably be like career opportunities. There's no reason for me to work up my way to be a senior level manager if the extra incremental income is like 1K, right? There's no reason for me to be a CEO if I have to manage like 24 million, in your words, people, but only receive like 50% of a pay increase. Like that's just not worth it, right? That's the principle of motivation. Second principle, which I think they just hit a home run with, is the return on investment on education, or just in general, every single investment that you've put into up until you working in the particular industry. So what I mean by this is simply by saying like, okay, I'll use myself as an example, screw it. I went to Sunway, I'm going to Sunway. I spent a very sad amount on my education. So I would expect to want to go to a decent company that pays me big bucks, because when my parents asked me what my ambition was, I was like, hey, I want to be an auditor because they get a lot of money, right? That motivation doesn't come anymore because I lose that drive and I lose that will. And even though it might seem like a very materialistic thing, like, oh, mata duitan, like money, right? It's actually a really big thing. Like if I were to tell you like, hey, you want to judge this competition for free? And like, no, but oh, what if you get like $1,000? You're like, hey, that's pretty good, right? So money is a very like underrated thing that you guys could have talked about more, and why it's very important, because government didn't give me like a proper alternative to an incentive factor as to what people would want to expect when they go into a company instead of getting money, right? Do I have any more? There's also something about people in debt. I think one thing the opposition could probably have touched on more was debt. Like, if I take on like, I don't know, 5 million, purely exaggeration, I don't know how medical schools work, but $5 million worth of debt, I would want to go to a company that allows me to pay back my debt, right? Now I have a ceiling gap. Not only will I have to work more, I'm gonna hate my life because I don't have money to pay back my debt, right? So maybe you could touch on that more. But yeah, I think government needed to be a little bit more, how do I say, harder on what they want to defend, because you can't just say that people will choose to work in the government just because they want to help the government. Like, I don't know how much you guys love your government, but like, I don't know, man. I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, so for the sake of time, I have personal feedback. That means I have things that maybe cases you could have ran, maybe cases you missed out, maybe points you missed out. I have personal feedback in relations to mannerism, and just general overall structure. If you want that, you can go to Zoom. My name is Ahmad Raihan. You can text me. We will go into a room virtually, and then I will give you that personal feedback. Is that okay? So if anybody has any questions onto my deliberation and how I came to that, you may ask me, and I will answer to the best of my abilities.
With that verdict, the motion the House will introduce a ceiling on a person's income is rejected. Thank you to the adjudicators. Now the participants may move to the main room for further instruction regarding the next round. Thank you to everyone for joining the session.
Reminder to text me if you have questions,
Congrats.
okay? You can text me. I'm a
Alright.
very friendly person.